那在接下来还有华尔街联报给大家梳理了在过去1年时间中，中国的富豪怎么从中国流出这么多的这样的一个现象，尤其是在过去的48小时，在东南亚的一大热点新闻就是中国的一位演员王星如何在失联之后成功获救，这其中惊心动魄的故事也是非常值得关注。以这些内容我们都放在了华尔街联报之中，不要错过接下来的内容。
就是说我们的这个节目后面我还看到了有特朗普总统的记者会的完整的这个内容所以这一场记者会我希望大家能够看一看，因为我们的导播花了一点时间把它配上了中文字幕，当然中文字幕有时候是未必那么准确但是呢大概的意思大概明白，看看这个特朗普总统的万丈行星呢是怎么回事。那现在呢，我们现在正准备制作这个墨西哥总统的这个回应但是他老人家的回应呢有一点太长，2个小时，比特朗普总统还厉害了1倍我们也争取能够把它翻译出来，看能不能今天能够制作完成。如果制作完成的话呢，也许明天的华尔街联报可以播放这些这个重要的这个记者会都是趁此机会会比较更细致的了解墨西哥总统他的思考是怎么回事，或者墨西哥这个国家现在在做一些什么事情，因为毕竟呢很多中国人现在在墨西哥。
好，感谢各位的关注那么接下来便是华尔街联报，明天我们华尔街论坛再跟大家不见不散。
大家好，欢迎来到我们的华尔街网报节目。今天我们要探讨的是中国百万富翁在经济风暴中所面临的困境与选择。随着中国经济的增长放缓，青年失业率攀升，房地产市场低迷，许多富裕人士如简梦开始将资金转移到海外。他甚至考虑搬离中国，因为他对国内的医疗和保险体系缺乏信心。根据报告，去年有超过13800名高净值人士选择离开中国，这一趋势可能会对中国经济造成重大挑战。尽管中国政府试图通过友好的政策来安抚商界，但资本外流的现象却依然严重。许多富裕个体正利用各种方法规避资本管制，将资产转移到新加坡等国家。这一切的背后是否预示着中国经济的未来将面临更大的挑战？请大家继续收看详细内容。这篇文章最初由半岛电视台发表，聚焦于中国百万富翁在面对国内经济挑战时的应对策略，特别是他们如何将资产转移到国外，以寻求更稳定的经济环境。文章通过几位富裕人士的经历，揭示了中国当前面临的经济困境及其对个人财富管理的影响。文章开头讲述了简梦的一段经历，他是一位来自上海的富裕进出口公司老板。在5年前，他曾专门前往香港购买重疾保险，而非购买奢侈品。这一选择则反映了他对中国医疗系统和保险市场的信任危机。随着岁月的流逝和他财富的增加，梦逐渐将他的金融交易转移到中国以外的地区。如今，大部分业务都是通过香港进行的。他甚至在新加坡开设了银行账户，并将大量资产转移到那里。简梦的选择部分是因为他对中国经济环境的不安，认为不宜将过多资金留在国内。中国当前正面临着数十年来最具挑战性的经济形势，经济增长慢于预期，青年失业率高达17%以上，家庭消费占 GDP 的比例远低于全球水平，而房地产市场也在持续低迷。这些因素共同加剧了人们对经济未来的担忧。与此同时，中国政府对科技、金融和教育等多个行业的打击，加剧了商界的不安情绪。这种不安在一些知名商人的失踪事件中体现得尤为明显，如投资银行家包凡的失踪，进一步加剧了市场的不稳定感。简梦和其他许多富裕中国人都在考虑搬到国外。 数据显示，2022年有13800位高净值人士离开中国，比前一年增长了28%。预计到2024年底，这一数字将增至15200人。这一现象引发了专家和分析师的关注。尽管从总数来看，620万名中国百万富翁中，这样的迁移并不算大规模逃亡，但如果趋势加速，将对中国经济构成挑战。当这些富裕人士离开时，他们往往会将自己的财富一同转移出去。这种资本外流已经开始影响在华的外国投资者。今年第二季度，海外公司从中国撤回了创纪录的150亿美元的投资。随着资本外流的增加，专家认为这将进一步削弱本已疲弱的中国经济。对此，中国政府也意识到了富裕人士大量外逃可能带来的问题，因而开始采取吸引私营部门的措施。比如，中国总理李强承诺改善商业环境，与科技公司高管的会面也被认为是针对行业打压的结束信号。然而，尽管有这些安抚举措，若无法缓解投资者的焦虑，中国政府可能会依赖严厉的资本管制来限制个人资产的外流。目前，中国公民每年只允许将相当于5万美元的资金转移出境，银行和金融机构必须报告大额交易。但即使在这种管制下，富裕的中国人仍通过各种方式规避这些限制。许多人利用家庭成员的额度或购买可以转移到国外的资产，如贵金属。另一些则依赖地下金融操作网络，这种网络通过复杂的手段帮助资金转移。一种常见的方法是洗钱及招募尚未使用其年度限额的人参与资金转移。在一个案例中，当局揭露了一名男子管理的一个网络，通过102人每年转移数百万美元出境。中国当局已经宣布打击了100多个类似网络，涉及约110亿美元的非法金融交易。对于那些成功将资产转移到国外的人，新加坡成为了一个理想的目的地。近年来，富裕的中国人在新加坡设立了数百个家族财富管理办公室，并成为当地豪华住宅的最大买家。这引发了新加坡当局对中国进口财富的更严格审查。尽管如此，根据 Henley and Partners 的数据，新加坡依旧是中国富裕人士的首选之一。其他热门目的地还包括加拿大和美国。如果简梦决定离开中国，他将毫不犹豫地选择新加坡居住，因为他曾在新加坡生活和学习，觉得那是最方便的地方。这一选择反映出富裕中国人寻求海外安定的动机，以及他们对国内经济持续动荡的规避策略。总的来说，文章通过对个人故事和经济数据的分析，揭示了中国百万元富翁如何在国内经济和政策不确定性中寻找出路，选择将财富转移至更具稳定性的国际市场。这一趋势不仅对个人财富管理有深远影响，也对中国经济构成潜在挑战。
请大家继续收看节目的六度百科，对关键内容进行背景介绍。资本外流指的是资金从一个国家流出到其他国家的现象，通常涉及个人、企业或政府将资金转移到境外市场或投资的行为。这种现象在经济学中具有重要意义，因为它可以影响一国的货币政策、经济稳定性和国际收支平衡。资本外流可能是由多种因素驱动的，包括政治不稳定、经济不确定性、对本国货币贬值的担忧，以及寻求更高投资收益等。在某些情况下，资本外流被视为对国家经济的一种威胁。当大量资金迅速流出一个国家时，可能导致该国外汇储备下降，进而引发货币贬值压力。这种情况可能会增加当地通货膨胀，削弱经济增长，并导致金融市场动荡。一些国家可能会采取资本管制措施，如限制资金转出或提高外汇交易的成本，以减缓或防止资本的过度流出。资本外流的背景可以追溯到全球化进程的加速和金融市场的进一步开放。20世纪末以来，随着跨国投资和贸易自由化政策的推行，资本流动的速度和规模显著增加。 这种流动性为全球经济带来了更多的活力和机会。然而，资本流动的剧烈波动也给一些新兴市场或经济体带来了挑战，尤其是在金融危机或经济不稳定期间，资本外流的风险会加剧，可能对脆弱的经济体造成毁灭性的影响。从历史的角度看，资本外流现象并不是新鲜事。早在20世纪初，像20年代的德国和30年代的大萧条时期的美国，都曾面临过大规模资本外流的挑战。20世纪末和21世纪初，亚洲金融危机和拉美债务危机中，资本外流问题再度显现。这些历史事件显示了资本外流对国家经济稳定的重要影响，以及政府和国际组织在应对这些挑战时所采取的不同策略。在数据方面，资本外流可以通过国际收支平衡表中的资本和金融账目来衡量。这些数据反映了一个国家资本流入与流出的总体情况。当一个国家的资本和金融账呈现赤字时，通常表示资本外流，反之则表示资本流入。据国际货币基金组织 IMF 和世界银行等机构的报告，全球资本流动的规模在过去几十年中持续增长，但流动性和波动性也在增加。总结来看，资本外流是全球经济中一个复杂且多变的现象，它既反映了全球投资者对一国经济前景的信心，也可以是对市场不稳定的一种反应。国家政策制定者需要密切监测资本流动，并在必要时采取适当措施，以维护经济稳定和金融安全。这种现象的管理不仅需要策略上的灵活性，还需要国际合作和政策协调，以应对全球经济环境中的不确定性和挑战。
大家好，欢迎来到我们的亚洲大眼睛节目。今天我们将带您深入探讨中国演员王星的惊险经历。他在泰国拍戏期间失联，后来被发现遭到禁锢，甚至被迫剃头并关押在一处有50名中国人的建筑物中。王星在获救后表达了对泰国政府的感谢，并强调泰国的安全性，还表示将来会再回来。据报道，王星在被救出后与泰方官员进行了交流，并用多种语言表达了感激之情。然而，他的故事却并不仅仅是感谢的表面，背后隐藏住被欺骗和人口贩卖的恐怖真相。泰国警方已确认，他将接受相关的调查。这一事件引起了中国驻清迈总领馆的高度重视。大家好，欢迎来到我们的亚洲大眼睛节目。今天我们要深入探讨的是中国演员王星的惊险故事。他在泰国拍戏期间失联，随后被发现遭受禁锢，甚至被迫剃头，关押在一个有50名中国人的地方。王星在成功获救后，感激地表示泰国的安全性，并强调未来会再来这个国家。然而，这背后却隐藏住被欺骗和人口贩卖的惊人真相。泰国警方已介入调查。这一事件引起了中国驻清迈总领馆的高度重视。王星的故事不仅让我们看到了国际合作的力量，还提醒我们对于跨国工作的警惕。请大家继续收看详细内容。那是一个阴云密布的下午，中国演员王星在泰国拍戏之行的第4天，突然与外界失去了联系。失踪的消息迅速在网络上蔓延，引起了粉丝和媒体的广泛关注。中国驻清迈总领馆立即展开了紧急搜救行动，与泰国各方密切合作，是要找到失踪的王星。经过几天的努力，终于在1月7日传来了好消息，在泰缅边境的一个隐秘地方，王星成功获救。根据星岛头条引用中国环球电视网 CGTN 的报道，获救后的王星被迅速转移到了泰国达府移民局，随后被护送至美索机场。在机场，王星在泰国官员的陪同下，首次面向媒体。他镇定地用英文表达了对所有参与营救行动的组织和个人的感谢，感谢每一位让我能够安全站在这里的人，这让我有机会回到祖国，我感激不尽。为了消除外界对泰国安全的顾虑，他补充道：“泰国非常安全，我一定会再回来的。”在泰国媒体的持续关注下，事件的真相逐渐浮出水面。原来王星是被引诱到泰国，声称是为了从事表演工作。然而一到达目的地，他便被剃光了头发，并被强行关押在一座有50名中国人的建筑物内。王星表示自己被迫练习打字，推测对方企图让他参与电信诈骗活动。泰国警方确认，王星将在泰缅边境地方委员会接受关于人口贩卖的调查。
这一事件也引起了中国驻清迈总领馆的高度重视，他们积极协调泰国各方力量，力求妥善解决此案。在泰国媒体曝光的一张照片中，王星坐在缅甸禁卫队控制的酒店内，头发剃光，面容憔悴，精神状态令人担忧。随后流出的照片，他被发现戴着黑色头套，在2名工作人员的陪同下登上了一辆私家车。在车厢内，他向镜头比出了 OK 的手势，似乎是在告诉外界他已经安全。王星的获救过程堪称惊险，他与泰国警方及其他部门见面的照片被公开。照片中，他对着救援人员何时致谢，表达了深切的感激之情。然而，尽管获救，王星的经历却令人唏嘘不已。在被拘禁的日子里，他不仅被剃了光头，甚至双腿还布满红斑。卡米就过过子，仿佛经历了一场噩梦。在机场的媒体采访中，王星虽然看起来略显疲惫，但状态良好。他用流利的英文感谢泰国政府的帮助，并强调泰国是一个安全的地方。他甚至表示，若有机会，他一定会再回到这个国家。他的坚定和勇敢让人感佩。随着王星在泰国失踪事件的曝光，关于他被引诱进入骗局的细节也逐渐被揭露。据悉，他在缅甸的日子并不好过，曾一度无法找到人求救。在一段网络上流传的视频中，王星提到在缅甸很难找到人求助，而一位男生则回应道：“当我们检查一切后，我们知道你在哪里，但最难的是找到你。”王星接着询问在泰国是否更易于寻找，对方回答：“我们用了大量资源，动员了上百名警员，在全国搜寻你。”这次行动中，王星得知自己当时并未在泰国境内。事件平息后，王星返回中国的计划被提上日程。他在曼谷机场接受采访时，仍不忘感谢所有帮助过他的人，包括泰国政府以及不辞辛劳的搜救人员。他再次强调泰国是安全的，并表示愿意在未来再次造访。王星的获救是一场多方共同努力的成果，也是一场跨国合作的成功案例。在这段惊险的经历后，王星对生命有了更深的领悟。他希望自己的故事能够提醒更多人，不要轻信跨国工作机会，并时刻保持警惕。通过他的亲身经历，我们看到了人性的险恶，也看到了国际合作的力量。无论如何，这次事件为他的演艺生涯增添了一段不寻常的插曲，也让人们看到了他背后的坚韧与勇气。欢迎大家进入6度探索的辩论环节，我们从正反2个角度对本节目进行辩论，请出我们的辩论高手楚天舒、谢琪琪。
王星被成功营救后，竟然做出 OK 手势，这证明他经历了这次磨难后仍然坚强乐观。虽然被剃头，身心俱疲，但他依然选择以积极的态度面对生活，这种精神值得我们学习。更重要的是，他对泰国政府的感谢，以及认为泰国是安全的地方，说明他对救助他的各方充满了信任与感激，这体现了他宽厚和懂得感恩的品质，可以说是当代年轻人的榜样。
拜托，王星在这种情况下做 OK 手势，可能只是因为他太过紧张或者无奈。这种手势并不能说明他对整个事件的积极态度，毕竟他被剃头、受困，这些可都不是小事。至于他说泰国很安全，恐怕也是在泰国政府面前的一种外交辞令。谁会在经历过绑架、极度恐慌后，立即认为这个地方很安全呢？这种表态未免太过乐观，或者说不够真实。
任何重大事件之后，保持镇定和对未来的乐观才是自我恢复的关键。王星之所以在媒体面前表现出积极的态度，可能源于他的专业素养和公众形象的考虑。他对泰国安全的评价可以看作是对国际合作的认可，毕竟泰国警方的努力直接促成了他的营救。这种感谢和宽容的态度不仅有助于缓解两国间的紧张关系，还能让外界看到中国演员的风度和理性。
这种说法太理想化了，我们不能忽视事件的本质。王星被诈骗团伙诱骗，并困在危机四伏的地方。无论他在媒体面前说了多好听的话，都不能改变他曾处于危险中的事实。说泰国安全，可能是迫于压力，或者是被要求说好话，不然他怎么可能在经历了如此恐怖的体验后，马上称赞那个地方安全呢？这种表态并未反映他真实的情感。
或许我们无法完全理解王星内心的真实感受，但
真实的情感恐怕不只是一句泰国很安全能概括的。他在镜头前的表现可能有很多复杂的原因，比如对形象的维护，或者是面对镜头时的压力。我们不应该简单的将这解读为一种正能量，反而更应关注如何保护艺人和普通人在海外的安全，避免类似事件的重演才是关键。
我是评委合理，我想对2位精彩的辩论做出评论。楚天舒和谢琪琪的辩论围绕着王星在被救后的表现，展现出2种截然不同的观点。楚天舒强调王星的积极态度和感恩之心，认为这是当代年轻人的榜样，而谢琪琪则质疑这种表现的真实性，指出在经历如此危险的事件后，王星的态度可能仅是表面的，背后有着更深的压力和恐惧。首先，楚天舒的观点无疑触及到了一个重要的主题，即在艰难情况下保持积极的心态对于自我恢复的重要性。他显示出对王星的尊重，认为他的感谢和对泰国政府的信任可以促进2国间的友好关系，这是值得鼓励的。然而，这种过于理想化的解读忽略了事件的本质和王星所经历的痛苦。谢琪琪的观点则更为现实，提醒我们应该关注事件背后的危险和风险。谢琪琪提出的对王星表现的怀疑是有其必要性的。他指出，王星的 OK 手势和对泰国安全的评价可能只是出于对媒体的应对和压力，而非其真实感受。这一点提醒我们，在面对危机时，无论是公众人物还是普通人，可能都会因为各种因素而表现出与实际情况不符的态度。这不仅是对王星情感的深入分析，也是在呼吁大家关注在国外遇到危险的人的安全保障。总结来说，楚天舒和谢琪琪的辩论呈现了积极与消极之间的对立，两者各有其合理性。楚天舒的积极心态值得提倡，但也应认识到背后可能隐藏的危险与痛苦，而谢琪琪的现实主义则提醒我们，在看似光鲜的表象背后，常常潜藏着更复杂的情绪和问题。对于公众人物的表现，我们应该以更全面的视角来分析，不仅要赞美他们的积极态度，也要理解他们所承受的压力和挑战。最终，如何保护在外国的公民安全，防止类似事件的再次发生，才是我们更应关注的核心议题。
大家好，欢迎来到我们的突发事件节目。今天我们将深入探讨芬兰在波罗的海电缆调查中的最新发展。芬兰警方最近在海床上恢复了一条失去的锚，这一举动是针对怀疑破坏行为的调查的一部分。上个月，芬兰拘留了运载俄罗斯石油的 Eagle S 油轮，因为它涉嫌在海床上拖曳锚，损坏了芬兰爱沙尼亚的 Estlink 2电力线和多条电信电缆。更有趣的是，该油轮的船员可能面临刑事责任，而船主则声称事件发生在芬兰的领海之外，芬兰无法干预。而这一切的背后，正是围绕着俄罗斯石油的阴暗故事。芬兰海关怀疑 Eagle S 属于一个规避制裁的阴影舰队。随着波罗的海国家因俄乌冲突而提高警惕，北约也强调将增强在该地区的存在。这起案件不仅关乎破坏行为，更涉及国际法和地缘政治的复杂网络。我们将持续关注这一事件的进展，并探讨对于该地区安全局势的潜在影响。请大家继续收看详细内容。欢迎收看突发事件特别节目。今天我们将聚焦于芬兰在波罗的海进行的一项复杂调查，涉及一宗疑似破坏电力和互联网电缆的案件。这则消息首次由路透社发布，情况复杂而牵动多方利益，不仅涉及到区域安全，也引发了国际社会的广泛关注。事情的起因是芬兰警方在波罗的海海底找回了一只丢失的锚，这只锚被怀疑与对电力和互联网电缆的破坏有关。据调查，在上月，芬兰当局扣押了一艘名为 Eagle S 的油轮。该船只从事运输俄罗斯石油，而芬兰怀疑它在海底拖拽锚链时损坏了连接芬兰和爱沙尼亚的 Estlink 2电力线以及4条电信电缆。
芬兰国家调查局发表声明称，这只锚是在 Eagle S 沿途经过的海底拖拽线路西端附近发现的。值得注意的是，芬兰并未在其领海内查获损害行为，这使得该国在法律管辖权上的主张受到挑战。船只的所有者由总部位于阿联酋的 Caravella LLC 公司委托的律师赫尔曼·隆贝格声称，损害发生在芬兰领海外，因此芬兰无权干预。他还表示，芬兰在公海劫持了船只，并要求释放，但这一请求上周被法院驳回。调查中 ，Eagle S 的船员被怀疑破坏和损害财产，可能会和船东一起面临刑事责任。同时，芬兰海关表示 ，Eagle S 是一个通过影子船队避开俄罗斯石油制裁的部分，因而其货物已被扣押。俄罗斯对此事回应称，芬兰扣押船只并不是俄罗斯的问题。事件曝光后，波罗的海地区各国提高了警戒。自从俄罗斯在2022年入侵乌克兰以来，该地区发生了一系列电力电缆、电信链路和天然气管道中断事件。北约也表示将加强在该地区的存在。此次锚的打捞得到了芬兰边防和国防力量以及瑞典海军的协助。芬兰警方表示，该锚的回收将有助于刑事调查的进展，目前正进行法医分析。值得一提的是，这并不是芬兰第一次在类似的调查中找回锚。今年早些时候，芬兰曾找回了一只据称属于中国集装箱船的锚。该船被怀疑损坏了一条天然气管道和若干光纤链路。目前该案件仍在调查中，芬兰方面表示中国正与其合作调查。此外，芬兰电信运营商 Elisa 报告称，其在12月25日受损的2条海底电信电缆似乎被强大外力撕裂，现已修复。而 S-Link 2电力电缆的修复预计需要7个月时间，由芬兰的 Fingrid 和爱沙尼亚的 Elering 公司负责。从以上情况来看，这一事件不仅涉及到芬兰的基础设施安全，还反映出复杂的地缘政治局势和法律挑战。首先，这起案件中的嫌疑船只和其背景引发了对俄罗斯石油制裁的关注。芬兰认为 Eagle S 是一个影子船队的一部分，这些船只被用来规避对俄罗斯的制裁。在当前全球能源供应紧张的背景下，如何有效执行国际制裁而不影响能源供给，成为一个棘手的问题。其次，这一事件揭示了海底基础设施的脆弱性。波罗的海区域的国家，尤其是芬兰和爱沙尼亚，依赖于海底电缆进行电力和数据传输。任何破坏都可能对地区经济和安全产生深远影响。此次事件让人们重新思考如何加强对关键基础设施的保护，以及制定国际法律框架来应对类似破坏行为。与此同时，事件也凸显了国际合作的必要性。无论是芬兰与中国在调查中的合作，还是多国海军力量合作进行的锚的打捞，这些都显示出在面对共性安全威胁时，跨国合作的重要性。通过多国合作，加速调查进程，确保责任人被绳之以法，从而对未来的潜在破坏行为起到威慑作用。最后需要关注的是，这起案件是否会影响到波罗的海地区的地缘政治动态。自俄罗斯入侵乌克兰以来，该地区的安全局势日益紧张。北约表示会加强在该地区的存在，这是否会导致更多的军事和外交动作，还有待观察。总体来看，此次事件无疑将促使波罗的海国家加强合作，加大对基础设施的保护力度，以应对可能出现的风险和挑战。在接下来的节目中，我们将持续关注这一事件的进展，分析其对区域安全、国际法律和能源政策的影响。感谢您收看今天的突发事件特别节目，我们下次再见。
大家好，欢迎来到我们的华尔街现场节目。在今天的节目中，我们将深入探讨一场关于加拿大和美国之间关税对决的引人注目的辩论。遗产基金会的经济学家 E.J. Antony 对特朗普的关税计划进行了深刻剖析。他认为这一策略不仅旨在保护美国工业，更是推动国内经济增长的关键。随着全球贸易环境的变化，这些关税被视为抗衡不公平贸易的重要手段。Antony 指出，这些关税将促使美国企业重新考量供应链，甚至可能导致制造业回流至美国本土，创造数百个新就业机会，并提升当地经济。他强调，尽管短期内消费者可能会面临价格上涨的挑战， 但长期来看，这些措施将增强国内产业的竞争力，使美国经济更加稳健。这是一个艰难却必要的过程。在这场关税对决中， Anthony 对美国的未来充满信心，认为国内产业的复苏和创新将使美国重新获得全球市场的竞争优势。这不仅是挑战，更是重塑的机会。他的观点为我们提供了全新的视角，揭示了美国如何利用关税政策来保护自身利益，并为未来经济增长铺平道路。请大家继续收看详细内容。关税对决，美国经济的转机。福克斯商业新闻。在全球贸易环境发生巨变的背景下，美国总统当选人特朗普提出实施一系列进口关税的计划，引起了各界广泛关注。经济学家 E.J. Antony 对这一计划进行了深入分析，从经济学的角度阐释了关税对美国经济的潜在影响。Antony 认为，特朗普的关税计划不仅旨在保护美国产业，更重要的是促进国内经济增长。通过提高外国商品的价格，这些关税将迫使美国企业重新考虑他们的供应链，从而促进制造业回流美国本土。这将不仅创造就业机会，而且提升当地经济。例如，一家美国钢铁公司在关税的影响下决定在美国扩建工厂，创造了数百个就业机会，提振了当地经济。此举表明，关税可以成为保护和恢复美国产业的有效工具。虽然一些人担心关税可能会导致消费者价格上涨，但 Antony 认为，从长远来看，关税将促进国内产业的竞争力，使美国经济更加强劲。他强调，这是一个艰难但必要的过程，类似于美国在过去面临外部挑战时所采取的措施。在这次关税对决中， Antony 对美国的未来充满信心。他预测，随着国内产业的复苏和创新，美国将能够在全球市场中重新获得竞争优势。他指出，这不仅是对美国经济的挑战，更是一次重塑的机会，使美国能够适应不断变化的全球经济环境。以下是 Antony 在经济辩论中提出的关键论点：关税将迫使美国企业重新考虑其供应链，并可能导致制造业回流美国本土。关税将保护美国产业免受不公平竞争，并促进国内就业的增长。尽管短期内消费者可能会面临价格上涨，但长期来看，关税将促进国内产业的竞争力和经济增长。特朗普的关税政策是对抗全球化不公平贸易的必要手段。美国经济经过关税的考验后将更加强劲，并在全球市场中重新获得竞争优势。Antony 的观点为我们提供了一个全面看待特朗普关税计划的视角。他强调了关税在保护美国产业和促进经济增长方面的潜在作用。尽管关税可能会带来一些短期成本，但 Antony 相信其长期收益将远远超过这些成本。美国经济正处于转折点，特朗普的关税政策可能会塑造其未来的走向。
请大家继续收看节目的六博士的分析、评论、背景材料。美国总统特朗普发起了多项关税政策，旨在保护美国工业和促进国内经济。这引发了美国与加拿大、墨西哥、中国等贸易伙伴的一系列贸易争端。经济学家分析，经济学家 E.J. Antony 认为，特朗普的关税政策对美国极为有利。他指出，这些关税将迫使美国企业重新审视其供应链，可能导致更多的制造业回流美国，从而创造就业机会并促进经济增长。消费者影响 Antony 承认，关税短期内可能会导致消费者价格上涨。然而，他强调，从长远来看，这些关税将提升国内产业的竞争力，最终使美国经济更加稳健。历史对比，Antony 将特朗普的关税政策比作美国过去在面对外部挑战时所采取的措施。他相信，这是一个艰难但必要的过程，将有助于美国在全球市场中重新获得竞争优势。总体评价 Anthony 的观点提供了不同寻常的见解，表明关税政策不仅是保护主义措施，更是一个重塑美国经济和应对全球化挑战的机会。他的分析凸显了特朗普政府保护美国利益和促进未来的经济增长的决心。
大家好，欢迎来到我们的华尔街网报节目。今天我们要聊的议题可不简单。加拿大总理贾斯汀·特鲁多强烈反击了美国当选总统唐纳德·特朗普的提议，称加拿大将不会成为美国的第51个州。特鲁多在社交媒体上表达了他的立场，形容这个想法就像雪球在地狱里的机会一样微乎其微，显示出他对保护家国主权的坚定决心。而特朗普则在新闻发布会上提出，如果加拿大加入美国，将不会是透过军事，而是经济力量，并声称许多加拿大人其实希望成为美国的一部分。这些言论引发了不少争议和讨论，让人质疑特朗普是否是借此展现他的政治战略。随着特朗普对特鲁多的调侃加剧，加拿大的政治局势也陷入不稳。特鲁多最近宣布将辞去自由党党首和总理职务，这是否会为自由党带来新的机会，或是加剧他们在即将到来的选举中的挑战？这一切都充满了未知数。请大家继续收看详细内容。这篇文章来自美国知名媒体 Fox News， 主要报道了加拿大总理贾斯汀·特鲁多 对美国前总统唐纳德·特朗普 Trump 提议加拿大成为美国第51个州的回应，以及随之而来的政治动荡。事件起因于特朗普在一场于佛罗里达州马阿拉戈度假村举行的新闻发布会上提出的这一构想。他认为加拿大应该成为美国的一部分，且认为这种合并不会通过军事手段，而是通过强大的经济力量来实现。他在社交媒体上进一步声称，有许多加拿大人乐意成为美国第51个州，并表示这样的举措将使加拿大受益，包括免于关税、降低税收，以及提升对俄罗斯和中国的安全防御能力。这一提议迅速在国际舞台上引发了广泛关注和讨论。很多人对特朗普的言论感到震惊，并质疑这种提议是否只是他的政治策略之一。作为对特朗普建议的回应，特鲁多十分坚定地表示，加拿大绝不会成为美国的一部分。他在社交媒体上用形象化的语言形容这种可能性，称其如同雪球在地狱里的几率一样微乎其微。这一声明不仅是对特朗普言论的直接反击，也显示了特鲁多对加拿大国家主权的坚定捍卫。特鲁多在声明中也强调，加美两国之间的合作关系是互惠互利的，双方的工人和社区都从中受益。他指出，加拿大和美国的贸易和安全伙伴关系对两国而言都具有重要价值，因此加拿大没有必要也没有意愿成为美国的一部分。特鲁多的回应清晰地表明了他对保护加拿大主权的坚定立场，并试图通过这一回应平息国内外对加拿大未来主权地位的担忧。然而，特朗普并未就此止步，他进一步在社交媒体上发布了一张经过处理的照片。照片中，他站在一个山顶，背景是飘扬的加拿大国旗。这显然是一种对特鲁多及加拿大的挑衅行为。特朗普甚至多次以州长戏称特鲁多，并威胁要对加拿大征收巨额关税，这可能是特鲁多压力倍增的原因之一。面对特朗普的压力和国内批评的声音，特鲁多做出了辞职的决定。他宣布将在自由党选出新领导人后辞去总理职务。特鲁多在过去近10年间一直担任加拿大领导人，但随着生活成本的飙升和通货膨胀的上升，他在民意调查中的支持率急剧下滑，面临的挑战也越来越多。特鲁多的辞职意味着自由党需任命一位临时总理，直到明年秋季举行的选举。这一过渡时期给自由党一个重新获得支持的机会，同时也为他们带来了新的不确定性。在此期间， 特朗普对加拿大的关注显然并未减弱，他甚至曾经呼吁丹麦将格陵兰岛出售给美国。这种做法进一步加剧了外界对其极端思维模式的关注。在这场政治博弈和言辞交锋中，加拿大的未来走向显得尤为不确定。特鲁多的辞职能否为自由党带来新的希望，亦或让他们在即将到来的选举中面临更大挑战？这一切都取决于新领导人的能力和应对策略。无论结果如何，加拿大的独立性和主权在这场国际政治事件中显得格外重要。特鲁多的坚定立场不仅是对特朗普挑衅的有力回击，也是一种捍卫国家尊严和主权的重要宣示。通过这一事件，加拿大政府和民众都更为清楚地意识到维护国家主权和独立性的必要性，这也为未来的政策制定和国际关系处理提供了深刻的启示。
请大家继续收看节目的六度百科，对关键内容进行背景介绍。贾斯汀·特鲁多 Justin Trudeau 是加拿大著名的政治人物，于2015年成为加拿大第23任总理。他是前总理皮埃尔·特鲁多 Pierre Trudeau 的长子。特鲁多生于1971年，成长于一个政治氛围浓厚的家庭，这对他的政治生涯产生了深刻影响。特鲁多在麦吉尔大学获得文学士学位，后来在不列颠哥伦比亚大学取得教育学士学位。他曾短暂从事教师工作，并参与了多种社会和环保运动。2008年，特鲁多首次当选加拿大国会议员，代表魁北克省的帕皮诺选区。他在议会中迅速崛起，2013年成为自由党领袖。2015年，特鲁多领导自由党在联邦选举中取得压倒性胜利，结束了保守党的执政地位。特鲁多的竞选活动以其乐观、包容和进步的形象著称。他提出的政策包括提高政府透明度、促进中产阶级繁荣、环保措施及难民接纳等。特鲁多的政策也面临批评和挑战，例如他的政府因多项政策，如碳排放税、公共债务增加及管道建设等引起争议。此外，特鲁多在2019年和2021年的选举中分别连任，但其执政党位或多数席位只能组成少数政府，这要求他在政策推动上必须寻求其他党派支持。在国际上，特鲁多以支持多边主义、推动全球贸易和应对气候变化而闻名。他在担任总理期间，努力维持加拿大在国际舞台上的传统角色，并推动人权和性别平等议题。然而，他也因为某些外交政策决策受到国内外批评。特鲁多的政治风格以其个人魅力和沟通能力著称，他善于利用社交媒体与公众互动，这使得他在国内外拥有广泛的支持者。然而，他的形象也曾因涉及不当行为的事件受损，例如2018年因过去的种族歧视照片曝光引发的风波。总体而言，特鲁多作为加拿大总理，其领导风格和政策主张对国家政治格局、社会文化以及国际关系均产生深远影响。他的政治生涯充满了挑战和机遇，反映了当代政治环境的复杂性和多变性。
Can't let that happen. Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too. And the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers. So we're going to make up for that by putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Substantial tariffs. and we want to get along with everybody, but you know, they have to. It takes two to tango. We're approaching.
大家好，欢迎来到我们的华尔街现场节目。今天我们聚焦于唐纳德·川普的最新声明，他竟然想把墨西哥湾更名为美洲湾。这可不是小事，川普在佛罗里达州的新闻发布会上表示，这个新名字不仅美丽，还非常合适，似乎与他对墨西哥的移民政策和贸易不满有着密切关联。不过，问题来了，川普是否真的有权来改名这片国际水域呢？有关这项提案的具体实施细节，他却没有给出明确答案。更有趣的是，这引发了一些立法行动，甚至有共和党议员开始起草相关法案，想要正式将海湾名称改为美洲湾。墨西哥湾的名称历史悠久，使用这个名称已经有400多年，而其更名的程序又是什么？美国地名委员会在这方面扮演了重要角色，并且有先例可循。从巴拉克·奥巴马时期的麦金利山更名事件来看，总统确实有进行的名更改的权利，但这是否意味着川普的提议会获得成功呢？想知道更多关于川普的计划和这一事件的后续发展，请大家继续收看详细内容。川普表示，他将重新命名墨西哥湾，他能做到吗？当选总统周二告诉记者，他希望将这片水域命名为美洲湾，但他没有提供有关如何实施这项变更的细节。华盛顿邮报，唐纳德·川普周二表示，美国将把墨西哥湾更名为美洲湾。这位后任总统似乎将这一可能的更名与他长期以来对墨西哥处理移民、贩毒和贸易的不满联系在一起。我们将把墨西哥湾的名字改为美洲湾。川普在佛罗里达州棕榈滩的海湖庄园俱乐部举行的新闻发布会上说，多么美丽的名字，而且很合适。当选总统随后谴责墨西哥政府允许移民涌入美国，称墨西哥可以阻止他们。我们将对墨西哥和加拿大征收非常严厉的关税，因为加拿大，他们也来自加拿大。川普没有提供有关他计划如何实施更名的更多细节，但这些言论立即引发了人们对总统是否有权重命名国际水域的质疑，并促使至少1名共和党国会议员起草立法。以下是我们所知道的关于川普可以做什么和不能做什么来重新命名海湾的资讯。墨西哥湾是什么？墨西哥湾是一个面积218000平方英里的海洋盆地，透过佛罗里达海峡和由卡坦海峡与加勒比海和大西洋相连。它横跨墨西哥东海岸和美国东南海岸，一直到古巴西端。为什么叫墨西哥湾？这片水域有很多名字，但欧洲探险家和地图绘制者使用墨西哥湾这个名字至少已经400年了。墨西哥湾如何更名？现有机制可以对联邦政府认可的地点进行重新命名。然而，如果联邦更名正式生效，并不意味着其他国家会承认它。美国地名委员会是一个联邦机构间组织，负责维持整个联邦政府统一的地名使用。该委员会在内政部长的领导下运作。该委员会的外国地名委员会负责标准化外国地名。该委员会由联邦机构的代表组成，其中包括几名地理和制图专业人士。成员每2年任命一次。虽然 BGN 不为地理特征建立名称，但它会根据其既定政策批准或拒绝其他人提出的名称。该委员会最近的一个工作例子包括批准所有包含 squaw 一词的功能的替换名称，该词被用作对美国原住民妇女的贬义。2021年，内政部长德布哈兰 Deb Haaland 下令后进行了更名。哈兰德是第一位担任内阁秘书的原住民。众议员马乔里·泰勒·格林，乔治亚州共和党人，周二表示，他计划通过国会法案提出立法，更改墨西哥湾的名称。格林在 X 上写道：“我已指示我的工作人员立即开始起草立法，将墨西哥湾更名为美洲湾。这对于开始资助联邦内所有机构更改地图非常重要。政府，例如联邦航空管理局和军队，正式更名海湾有先例吗？2020年 ，BGN 内的外国名称委员会权衡了是否将波斯湾更名为阿拉伯湾，这是阿拉伯国家之间一场充满争议的争论。 伊朗长期以来一直坚持将这片水域称为波斯湾，但阿拉伯国家更喜欢阿拉伯湾这个词。该委员会根据其支持使用常规和广泛名称的政策确定波斯湾仍然是合适的，但补充说，在与讲阿拉伯语的军事和政府合作伙伴的非正式联邦通信中使用阿拉伯湾一词是可以接受的。在该地区，总统重新命名地理特征有先例吗？2015年，美国总统巴拉克·奥巴马 （Barack Obama） 批准将美国最高峰麦金利山 （Mount McKinley） 正式更名为麦金利山 （Mount Denali）， 这是其传统的土著名称。这一更名
请大家继续收看节目的六度百科，对关键内容进行背景介绍。墨西哥湾是位于北美洲东南部的一个大型海洋盆地，环绕在美国、墨西哥和古巴之间。作为大西洋的一部分，它通过佛罗里达海峡与大西洋连接，并通过尤卡坦海峡与加勒比海相连。墨西哥湾呈现半封闭的壳状，面积约为155万平方公里，最大深度达到约4384米。墨西哥湾的形成可以追溯至中生代时期。大约在1.5亿年前的晚三叠式，由于板块构造活动，北美板块和南美板块的分裂导致墨西哥湾的形成。此后，该地区经历了复杂的地质过程，包括沉积、侵蚀和构造活动，塑造了今天的地貌。墨西哥湾以其丰富的自然资源而闻名，尤其是石油和天然气储量。自20世纪中期以来，墨西哥湾已成为全球重要的海上石油开采区之一。湾区的大陆架上蕴藏着大量的石油和天然气资源，吸引了大量的能源公司进行勘探和开采。尽管这些活动推动了经济的发展，但也带来了环境挑战，如石油泄漏和栖息地破坏。2010年4月20日，墨西哥湾发生了历史上最严重的海上石油泄漏事件之一，即 BP 深水地平线油井爆炸。事故导致约4.9百万桶石油泄漏，给海洋生态系统带来了巨大的破坏，影响了大量海洋生物，并对沿海社区的经济和健康造成了长期影响。除了自然资源，墨西哥湾也是生物多样性的热点地区。暖流和冷水相遇的地方提供了丰富的营养物质，使得该地区成为许多鱼类、鸟类和海洋哺乳动物的重要栖息地。红树林、盐沼和珊瑚礁系统为众多物种提供了栖息和繁殖环境，包括濒危物种如海龟和海牛。墨西哥湾也因其对气候的影响而受到关注。湾区的海水温度对飓风的形成和强度起着关键作用。温暖的海水可以为飓风提供能量，使得这些风暴在进入陆地前可能迅速增强。在历史上，墨西哥湾沿岸经历了多次毁灭性的飓风，例如2005年的卡特里娜飓风造成了重大的人命和财产损失。在人类活动方面，墨西哥湾沿岸是一个重要的经济和文化区域，涵盖了美国南部多个州和墨西哥的沿海地区。这些地区以渔业、旅游业和农业为主要经济活动。新奥尔良、坦帕和维拉克鲁斯是该地区的重要港口城市，承载着繁忙的国际贸易。墨西哥湾的未来发展需要平衡经济利益和生态保护。由于气候变化、海平面上升和人类活动的加剧，墨西哥湾面临着一系列环境挑战。各国政府、科学家和环保组织正共同努力制定政策和开展研究，以保护这一重要的海洋生态系统，确保其可持续性。总之，墨西哥湾以其丰富的资源和复杂的生态系统而著称，是科学研究、经济开发和环境保护的重要区域。其地质和气候特征对全球环境和经济产生了深远影响。
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you. Many things are happening that are exciting, very exciting for our country. And we're honored to welcome one of the most respected business leaders in the Middle East, indeed the world. He's a founder and chairman of Damac Properties, Hussein Sejwani, a very respected gentleman. And I'm thrilled to announce today that Damac will be investing at least $20 billion over a very short period of time into the United States, and they may go double or even somewhat more than double that amount of money. There's a great thing. And I believe he will say that he's doing it because of the fact that he was very inspired by the election. They wouldn't do it without that election. I can tell you a lot of people wouldn't. You saw last week where we have somebody who's going to go from $100 to $200 billion. And we have many other people, and we'll be bringing some of them out. Some of them like to do it somewhat more quietly, and some don't. And they feel so strongly about the country that they want to let people know about it. But it's an honor to have such a great investor investing in our country. The investment will support massive new data centers across the Midwest, the Sun Belt area, and also to keep America on the cutting edge of technology and artificial intelligence. He's very big into the data centers, and that's going to be a very hot item in the coming years, as you know, with AI. In particular, the first phase of the project will be in Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Ohio, Illinois, Michigan, and Indiana, those places. And Hussein, I'd love you to come up and say a few words. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's been amazing news for me and my family when he was elected in November. We've been waiting 4 years to increase our investments in U.S. to a very large amount of money. We are a company operating in more than 20 countries around the world. We have delivered more than 45,000 luxury units and another 45,000 in the pipeline. In data center, we are in 10 countries around the world, in Asia, Europe, and Middle East. And we're very, very excited now with his leadership and his open strategy and policy to encourage businesses to come to U.S. For the last 4 years, we've been waiting for this moment. And we're planning to invest $20 billion and even more than that if the opportunity in the market allow us. But at the moment, we're planning $20 billion in data center, catering for the AI and cloud business for the hyperscalers.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Mr.
Great
President.
honor. Thank you very much. So nice. And that man knows what he's doing. He knows. So, Hussein, we're going to work with you and make sure everything goes smoothly. We have powers that haven't really been used in terms of environmental. If you invest over $1 billion in the United States, we're going to give expedited reviews to everybody because everyone's afraid they're going to come in and get caught in the quagmire, which is very prevalent in the United States, unfortunately, the quagmire of environmental and various other regulations and rules. And I made it a point of telling people if you invest $1 billion or more, and we'll do this for people with far less too, but we guarantee it. We're going to move them quickly through the environmental process. Sometimes people held up 12, 13, 14, 15 years. I saw it with plants in Louisiana where I got it approved in literally a week. They were through the review in 1 week after spending 14 and a half years trying to get it, and they were going nowhere. It was a terrible thing. So I've been a victim of that myself over the years, and I think I know all the games and all the tricks that are played, and much of it is just done to stop progress. So we're going to be helping you and everybody else that comes to the United States and wants to invest their money, that you don't get tied up for the rest of your life and you can't do anything. This commitment further underscores that many of the greatest business leaders on earth are seeing a very bright economic future for America since the election. As you know, a lot of positive things have happened. We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. Nobody even knows how many people, millions. And they're still counting in some areas. You know, they're still counting the vote in some areas. Can you believe this? What a place. What a horrible place. One of the things we're going to do is we've got to fix the election so that we get honest counts and they get done by 10 o'clock in the evening or something thereabouts. They have places where they're still counting votes. President Biden's actions yesterday on offshore drilling, banning offshore drilling, will not stand. I will reverse it immediately. It'll be done immediately. And we will drill, baby, drill. And we're going to be drilling in a lot of other locations. And the energy costs are going to come way down. They'll be brought down to a very low level. And that's going to bring everything else down. That's what caused it to go up, along with the ridiculous spending on the Green New scam. All this money, trillions of dollars. It's like throwing it right out the window, what they're doing. And they're trying to spend so much now. They're just taking money and giving it to anybody that wants it for any project at all, if it's certified under the Green New scam. And they don't work, and it's too expensive. And, they told me that we're going to do everything possible to make this transition to the new administration very smooth. It's not smooth because they're doing that. They're playing with the courts, as you know. They've been playing with the courts for 4 years, probably got me more votes because I got the highest number of votes ever gotten by a Republican, by far, actually, by a lot. And, we had a great election, so I guess it didn't work. But even to this day, they're playing with the courts. They have their friendly judges that like to try and make everybody happy on the Democrat side. It's called lawfare. It's called weaponization of justice, and it's happened at a level nobody's ever seen before. So many. I defeated deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged individual. I guess he's on his way back to The Hague, and we won those cases. Those were the biggest ones, and the press made such a big deal out of them, but we did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong on anything, and the people saw that. When they vote, when a Republican, it's not easy for a Republican. When the Republican wins the popular vote by millions and wins all 7 of the swing states, people said, well, he could win 4. We won all 7, and we won them by a lot. That tells you we won. And they've been watching this injustice. I call it the Injustice Department. What they've done is so bad. The whole world has watched that. And it took work, but it got me a lot of votes because when explained, we have a judge in New York who's a very crooked judge. I'm under a gag order. I can't even talk about aspects of the case that are the most vital aspects. I'm under a gag. Do you know that I'm the president-elect of the United States of America? I'm a former very successful president. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country. We had borders that were sealed and beautiful. Everything was good. We had no wars. We defeated ISIS. We had no wars. Now I'm going into a world that's burning with Russia and Ukraine, with Israel. You took a look at that attack on October 7th, the attack on Israel, with the horrible way they got out. Not the fact that they got out. I would have been out before them. But we would have been out of Afghanistan with dignity and strength as opposed to looking like a bunch of fools with 13 dead and many, many badly, horrifically injured. Nobody ever talks about them. No arms, no legs. Nobody ever talks about them. The way they got out was outrageous, leaving billions of dollars of brand new military equipment that I bought in the hands of the Afghans and specifically the Taliban. It's the group. And we were doing very well. We would have been out. We would have been respected. I think it's one of the reasons it was so badly handled, that withdrawal where people are jumping onto airplanes, falling off the sides of airplanes when they're 3,000 feet in the air. And nobody's ever seen anything like that, the worst. And because of that, I think Russia went and attacked Ukraine. When they saw that, they said, these guys are incompetent. They don't know what they're doing. But we know what we're doing now. And that's going to all end. And we have a great military. I defeated ISIS, as you know. We're in no wars. I just finished a couple. And we got also our soldiers guarding Syria and Turkey. We're in the middle. We had 5,000 soldiers. They would have been gobbled up with 2 armies. We had one army, 300,000. We had another one, 500,000 or 600,000, getting ready. We had 5,000 people in the middle. I said to a general, how do 5,000 people do in that case? And the general just looked at me and said, not well, sir, not well. And I took him out. And you know what happened? Nothing. I got criticized. I saved 5,000 lives, actually. And we did a great job, and we're going to do an even better job because now we have a tremendous amount of experience. We have people that I can rely on. But the 625 million acres, people can't realize that's like the whole ocean. Take an acre. You know, an acre, you have a house on a half an acre, on a quarter of an acre, or an acre. If you have an acre, you have a big deal. Now you multiply that by 625 million acres. It's like, feels like the whole ocean. And that's our strength, you know. People can say we manufacture, we don't manufacture. The thing we have oil and gas more than anybody in the world. We're going to have more of it, too. But they took away 625 million acres of offshore drilling. Nobody else does that. And they think they have it, but we'll put it back. I'm going to put it back on day one. I'm going to have it revoked on day one. We'll go immediately if we need to. I don't think we should have to go to the courts. But if we do have to go to the courts, you know, they try to be sneaky. They go in and they sign. Remember, this is a man that said he wants the transition to be smooth. Well, you don't do the kind of things. You don't have a judge working real hard to try and embarrass you. Because I did nothing wrong. By the way, I did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. If I did something wrong, I wouldn't be standing here right now because I've won all these cases. Nobody's ever won so many cases as I have against the Justice Department. I mean, Jack Smith had cases all over the place. People were being subpoenaed. Lives were being ruined. They were spending everything they had, money. We were helping them out. We had to. They were subpoenaing people that had no idea what they were even talking about. That's a sick group of people. And it was all to influence the election. It was all a fight against a political opponent. We've never had that in this country. We have had that in certain countries. We've had that in third-tier countries. We've had that in banana republics, but we've never had that in a place like the United States. I don't even know if it's been on a small level. I'm sure it has been on a small level, but this was the largest level ever. They brought this moron out of The Hague. He's a mean guy. He's a mean, nasty guy. His picture was perfect because you look at his picture, you say, that's a bad guy with his robe, his purple robe. And he executes people. He shouldn't be allowed to execute people because he'll execute everybody. He's a nut job. But we won all of those cases with him. And, I mean, I don't know the judge in Florida, but we had a brilliant judge in Florida that saw right through it. And we won the case. She was a brilliant judge with great courage. You know, the left, as we call them, the radical left, they have a way, they play the ref, and they play it very hard. They play the ref. They go and say horrible things about judges and prosecutors. And some judges and prosecutors say, look, the only way I'm going to get these people off my back is to give victory to them. They're playing the ref. I think it's illegal what they do. It's almost like talking. It's worse than talking to a judge. But the judge in Florida, Judge Cannon, was brilliant and tough, and she didn't stand for it. And I don't know her. And never met her until the case, and I don't believe I said even one word to her. But she was very, very strong and very, very brilliant. And her opinion was so brilliant that they dropped their appeal. They couldn't beat the appeal. So that's what we're up against. So they say we're going to have a smooth transition. All they do is talk. It's all talk. Everything they do is talk. We're going to have a smooth transition. And then they take 625 million acres and they essentially landmark it so you can't ever drill there again. Well, we're going to be drilling soon. We're going to be opening up Anwar. We're going to be doing all sorts of things that nobody ever thought was even possible. But remember and just to get off the subject, because I couldn't believe it when I heard it yesterday. I couldn't believe the size of it. I mean, you put down a map and put this up. It's just massive. And remember that that's worth probably, I mean, I've had estimates, $40 to $50 trillion. That's more than our national debt. Essentially, he's thrown it away. He's thrown it away. He's taken $50 trillion. So if we owe $35 trillion, he's taken $50 trillion of value and thrown it right out the window. We can't do that. Nobody can do that. One other thing he did yesterday, which was in many ways worse. It's hard to believe it can be worse. He wants all gas heaters out of your homes and apartments. He wants them to be replaced by essentially electric heaters. I don't know what it is with electric. This guy loves electric. We're going to be ending the electric car mandate quickly, by the way. This guy loves electric. And we don't have enough electricity. And then we have AI where we need more. And he wants everybody to have an electric heater instead of a gas heater. Gas heater is much less expensive. The heat is much better. It's a much better heat. As the expression goes, you don't itch. Does anybody have a heater where you go and you're scratching? And that's what they want you to have. They don't want you to have gas where you don't have the problems of the electric. And the source is plentiful. They're much cheaper to operate. They're much better. They work much better. They look much better. 60% of homes and apartments have gas heaters. He wants them all removed quickly. These people are crazy. There's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with them. They also want to go back, and they have already started that, to when you buy a faucet, no water comes out because they want to preserve. Even in areas that have so much water, you don't know what to do. It's called rain. It comes down from heaven. And they want to do, no water comes out of the shower. It goes drip, drip, drip. So what happens? You're in the shower 10 times as long, you know. No water comes out of the faucet. You want to wash your hands. They want to go back to even stronger than what they have right now. As you know, I ended that policy. You can have all the water you want. It makes no difference. It comes weird, especially in certain areas. We have so much water, we don't know what to do with it. But these are all things. They want very, very little water to go into your dishwasher, almost none. And you know what people do? They just keep pressing, keep it going. They end up using more water. Likewise, washing machines. They want in your washing machine to have very little water coming out of the washing machine. So when you wash your clothing, you have to wash it 4 times instead of once. You end up using more water. We're a party of common sense, and things that I'm telling you now is really all about common sense. On January 20th, we'll turn the economy around very quickly, because right now when I think of our economy, I think about inflation. That's what we have. We have inflation, I believe, at a level that we never had before. There's never been anything like it. And over the next 4 years, the United States is going to take off like a rocket ship. But really, it's already doing it. If you take a look, just last month, SoftBank announced the $200 billion. I think it'll be 200. He said between 100, and I said, how about making it 200? And he sort of said yes, but let's say it's 100, but it might be 200, right, Brian? Dollars, United States, creating more than 100,000 jobs. Hussein just announced a tremendous investment that he's going to make, and that's money that's in the bank. He's going to come and do it, and he'll do a great job, and he'll build the best centers in the country, I guarantee, because I know the way he builds. Since my election, the stock market has set records. The S&P 500 index has broken above 6,000 points for the first time ever, never even close. In a single month, small business optimism soared 41 points. It's not a 41. It went up 41 points. And that's the largest in the 39-year history of the group that does it. According to Gallup, the American people's confidence in the economy has just surged to the highest level in history. That's why I have a news conference like that. I take the greatest business leaders in the world. I say, hey, do you want to say you're going to invest the money? They're not looking for news conferences. They're saying, what am I doing here? They go in and they invest money. But it's good to know where the smartest business people in the world are investing, and they're investing in the United States. So we've done this all in 2 months of not being there. You know, we haven't been there. And it's pretty amazing, and we think we're going to do some really great things, really great things. We're being respected again all over the world. The Panama Canal is a disgrace, what took place at the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave it to them for $1, and they were supposed to treat us well. I thought it was a terrible thing to do. You know, it was the most expensive structure ever built in the history of our country, relatively. It would be the equivalent of substantially over $1 trillion today. We lost 38,000 people. Think of it, 38,000 people, they died from malaria, mosquitoes. They were unable to stop the mosquitoes. They paid people 5 times more to take the job. Many of those people died. We gave it away for $1. But the deal was that, they have to treat us fairly. They don't treat us fairly. They charge more for our ships than they charge for ships of other countries. They charge more for our Navy than they charge for navies of other countries. They laugh at us because they think we're stupid, but we're not stupid anymore. So the Panama Canal is under discussion with them right now. They violated every aspect of the agreement, and they morally violated it also. And they want our help because it's leaking and not in good repair. And they want us to give $3 billion to help fix it. I said, well, why don't you get the money from China? Because China's basically taken it over. China's at both ends of the Panama Canal. China's running the Panama Canal. And they come to see this Biden, this guy who should never have been allowed even to run for president. Of course, she shouldn't have either, because that never happened. I had to be two people, not one. But they want $3 billion to fix the Panama Canal that's run by China and makes a lot of money, China. One of the most profitable structures ever built, because you have ships lined up back to Florida, frankly, and they just keep going through, and the numbers are staggering, $500,000 to $1 million a ship. And they took it away from us, meaning we gave it to them for $1. But not going to happen. What they've done to us, they've charged us, they've overcharged our ships, overcharged our Navy. And then when they need repair money, they come to the United States to put it up. We get nothing. Those days are over. Working with the Republican majorities in Congress, we'll cut taxes, slash regulations, raise wages, and boost incomes at a pace the world has not seen before, and certainly not from our country. We had a big chunk of it for the first 3 years prior to COVID coming in my administration. We had the greatest economy in history. We cut the most regulations in the history of our country, and I did that all in 4 years, by 4 times more than any other president cut. We did that in 4 years, and we were just getting started. We'll impose new tariffs so that the products on our stores will once again be stamped with those beautiful words, made in the USA. And we are not treated well, as you know, by Canada. Canada is subsidized to the tune of about $200 billion a year, plus other things. They don't essentially have a military. They have a very small military. They rely on our military. It's all fine, but, they got to pay for that. It's very unfair. I have so many great friends. One of them is the great one, Wayne Gretzky. I said, run for prime minister, you'll win it'll take 2 seconds. But he said, well, am I going to run for prime minister or governor? You tell me. I said, I don't know. Let's make it governor. I like it better. But no, something's going to have to be done. Same thing with Mexico. We have a massive deficit with Mexico, and we help Mexico a lot. They're essentially run by the cartels, and can't let that happen. Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change, because we do most of the work there, and it's ours. We're going to be changing, sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate. And Mexico has to stop allowing millions of people to pour into our country. They can stop them. And we're going to put very serious tariffs on Mexico and Canada, because Canada, they come through Canada too, and the drugs that are coming through are at record numbers. So we're going to make up for that by putting tariffs on Mexico and Canada, substantial tariffs. And we want to get along with everybody, but they have to. It takes two to tango. We're approaching the dawn of America's golden age. It's going to be a golden age for America. We have things that nobody else has. We have more natural resources. We have, number one, nobody knew that until I came along. I made us number one. We were number 3. I made us number one in a very short period of time in drilling. And you can talk about windmills. They litter our country. They're littered all over our country, like dropping paper, like dropping garbage in a field. And that's what happens to them, because in a period of time, they turn to garbage. Most expensive energy ever. They only work if you get subsidy. The only people that want them are the people that are getting rich off windmills, getting massive subsidies from the U.S. government. And it's the most expensive energy there is. It's many, many times more expensive than clean natural gas. So we're going to try and have a policy where no windmills are being built. Off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build like 200 windmills. The people are going crazy. Nobody wants them, and they're very expensive. They don't work without subsidy. You don't want energy that needs subsidy. Energy is a good business. You don't need subsidy. But when you build these massive towers, they're 25 stories tall, 40 stories. They have one 70 stories tall. The blades, they take 3 ships to ship them. It's crazy. They're dangerous. You see what's happening up in the Massachusetts area with the whales, where they had 2 whales wash ashore in, I think, a 17-year period. And now they had 14 this season. The windmills are driving the whales crazy, obviously. And they had actually over, I think, 125 or something over a number of years. And we don't want that to happen. It's a disaster. It's amazing the way a true environmentalist would say, oh, we love wind. It sounds good, but that's about where it ends. After 10 years, you have to redo them. And what happens is they don't do that. They let them stand and they rust, and they say, because of the environment, I'm not a believer in this, but they say you can't, because it's a certain fiberglass, that the blades cannot be buried in earth, that's an environment. So what do you do with them? What do you do with them? And I don't know if you've ever gone to Palm Springs, California, or any of these places where you have long-term windmills standing. They're a disaster. They're rusting, rotting, closed, falling down. This is as you enter Palm Springs. And they put new ones next to them because nobody wants to take them down, because why should they take them down? It's very expensive to take them down. And you can't do anything with them because the blades, you can't bury them because of the environmental protection. We'll look at that. Doesn't make sense, but that's what they say. So we are at the beginning of a great, beautiful golden age of business. And I think we're also at a golden age of common sense, because everything I'm saying to you, from a simple water faucet that doesn't allow water to come out appropriately, to all of the other elements of what we do and what we're going to do, to take $50 to $60 trillion off our country's balance sheet because some man that has no idea what he's doing, has no idea. You know it, I know it, the Democrats know it. What they did is a crime by allowing that to happen. And I'll bet you, if you asked him today, how much acreage did you submit? Essentially, did you destroy? You destroyed the economic viability of drilling in the ocean. And with AI coming along and all, a lot of people don't realize that AI is going to be a big thing, but you'll need double the electricity at least that we have right now. So right now we produce electricity for many, many different things. AI is a very big deal in terms of the future. China is already building electric facilities, big, bold electric facilities. And you know how they're being fired up? With coal. They're being fired up with coal. And we're going to build bigger and better ones. People like Hussein that are doing the same thing as he is. I'll bet they don't do it as well because I know how he does it, but they're doing a lot of things. The problem is they can't get their permits because I say build the plant with the building. So with the structure, build the plant, because if you go into the grids are old. So they said, that's a great idea. In other words, build your electric facility alongside of your plant. And you could have extra output if you want, because once you build it, you can make it larger pretty inexpensively. You could have extra output, which you'll sell to the public, but build it with the plant, and people are loving that idea. So we're going to have a lot of fun making America great again, and it's going to happen, I think, very, very quickly. It's already happened. So I would say this, and this has been pretty openly reported by the news. There's never been anything like what's happened in the list since we won the election. Couple of months since we won the election, the whole perception of the whole world is different. People from other countries have called me. They said, thank you. Thank you. The perception of the whole world is different. We're going to have to settle some big problems that are going on right now. We're going to have to settle up with Russia, Ukraine. That's a disaster. I look at numbers every week, the number of people being killed in that war. People don't know, mostly soldiers now. But the towns have been obliterated. This was a Biden fiasco that that should have never happened. If we had a real president, if we had a president that knew what he was doing, Russia would have never, ever gone in. But they did go in, and we have a mess. The cities are all blown up. The people have largely left. And the soldiers are killing each other at levels that haven't been seen since the Second World War. So we'll have to get that one straightened out, too. That's a tough one. Much tougher than it would have been before it started, I can tell you that. A deal could have been made just by an average deal maker. Deal could have been made on that. So thank you all for coming. We'll take a couple of questions. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
President, thank you. I wanted to touch on the world on fire that you mentioned, but let's start, if we could, with your references to Greenland and the Panama Canal, so forth. Can you assure the world that as you try to get control of these areas, you are not going to use military or economic coercion?
No.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your plan is? Are you going to negotiate a new treaty? Are you going to ask the Canadians to hold a vote? What is the strategy?
Yeah. I can't assure you, you're talking about Panama and Greenland. No, I can't assure you on either of those two. But I can say this, we need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. But if you remember, and nobody wants to talk about the Panama Canal now because, you know, it's inappropriate, I guess, but because it's a bad part of the Carter legacy. But he was a good man. Look, he was a good man. I knew him a little bit, and he was a very fine person, but that was a big mistake. Giving the Panama Canal to Panama was a very big mistake. We lost 38,000 people. It cost us the equivalent of $1 trillion, maybe more than that. Probably the most expensive, they say it was the most expensive structure, if we call it a structure, which I guess you can, ever built. And giving that away was a horrible thing. And I believe that's why Jimmy Carter lost the election, even more so than the hostages. Those two things.
If I could follow up on Ukraine and Iran, the two negotiations you'll be heading into. On Ukraine, you said just before it's a lot more complicated now.
Much more complicated.
Do you believe...
Because it would have never started.
Right, but it has started.
Well, not only started, the cities are largely knocked down.
So you've got what you've got. At this point, to hold on to leverage in dealing with President Putin, would you make a commitment to the Ukrainians that you will keep supporting them during the negotiations?
Well, I wouldn't tell you if that were the case.
Would you make a commitment to provide a security guarantee if they do enter into an armistice or a ceasefire along the lines that the French and the Germans?
So, you know, a big part of the problem was Russia for many, many years, long before Putin said you could never have NATO involved with Ukraine. Now, they've said that. That's been like written in stone. And somewhere along the line, Biden said, no, they should be able to join NATO. Well, then Russia has somebody right on their doorstep, and I could understand their feeling about that. But there were a lot of mistakes made in that negotiation. And when I heard the way that Biden was negotiating, I said, you're going to end up in a war. And it turned out to be a very bad war. And it could escalate. That war could escalate to be much worse than it is right now.
They can never join NATO.
Well, my view is that it was always understood. In fact, I believe that they had a deal, and then Biden broke it. They had a deal which would have been a satisfactory deal to Ukraine and everybody else, but that Biden said, no, you have to be able to join NATO. And that's always been, and nobody knows more about NATO than I. You know, years ago when I first started this, I didn't know too much about NATO, but I got it right anyway. I said they're taking advantage. I'm the one that got, and the Secretary General was here, as you know, 2 weeks ago, saying that If it weren't for me, NATO wouldn't even exist right now, because I raised from countries that weren't paying their bills. At that time, 28 countries, 20 of them were not paying their bills, 21 to be exact. They weren't paying, or they were paying a very small portion. And I raised over $680 billion. That was the number he gave, by saying, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you. And as soon as I said that, the money came pouring in. But Obama could have said it. Other people could have said it. Bush could have said it. Nobody said it but me. I took a lot of heat. They said, oh, that's a threatening statement. Well, they weren't paying their bills. I said, we're not going to protect you if you're not paying the bills. So in a true sense, I saved NATO, but NATO's taken advantage of us. And one of the problems that I have, and I've said it openly, I said it to President Zelensky, Europe is in for a tiny fraction of the money that we're in. Now, whether you like that situation or not, Europe is much more affected than the United States. We have a thing called the ocean in between us, right? Why are we in for billions and billions of dollars more money than Europe? And, you know, they're a similar size, a little smaller, but they're a similar size economy as the United States when you add them up. And yet Europe is in for a small fraction of the number the United States is in. Now, Biden could have called them up during the term. That's what I did. I said, you have to pay your bills. And they all, one stood up. I won't say who. You'll probably have it, because the papers, the media hated to report on it. But a prime minister stood up from a country, you know, a famous meeting of 28 nations with no press, no anybody in the room. He stood up. He says, does that mean if we don't pay our bill, and at that point it was 2%, it should be 5%. It should be 5%, not 2%. But at that point it was 2%. But many people didn't pay. Some people didn't pay anything. But many people were way, including Germany. Germany was at less than 1%. You're going to press for 5%? Well, I think NATO should have 5%, yeah. Well, you can't do it at 2%. I mean, at 2%, every country, if you're going to have a country in a regular military, you're at 4%. I think they should be, you know, they're in dangerous territory. I think you should be, they can all afford it, but they should be at 5%, not 2%. I'm the one that got them to pay 2%. But a gentleman stood up, a prime minister stood up, and he said to me, sir, could I ask you a question? You're saying we have to pay our bills. If we don't pay our bills, will the United States protect us from Russia? I said, if you don't pay, you mean you're delinquent? He said, yes. He said, if you're delinquent, we will not protect you. I took a lot of heat. Although it was somewhat closed door, I took a lot of heat from the media. And you know what happened? The money started pouring in. That's why NATO has money. And the Secretary General said it was the most incredible thing he had ever seen in a negotiation. Now, if I would have said, yes, we will, nobody would have paid. If I would have loved to say, yes, we'll protect you even if you don't pay. But that's not the way life works.
Mr. President, two questions related to each other. First, you said on your first day of office you're going to pardon January 6th defendants. Are you planning to pardon those who were charged with violent offenses?
Well, we're looking at it, and we have other people in there. And as you see, I guess 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. That came out very quietly. Nobody reported it, but they had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people that were strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out about that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out about who exactly was in that whole thing, because people that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons. Yes, please.
Sorry, just one more follow-up.
Please.
On Jack Smith's report.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's good to see you again. 2 questions about Syria and the ongoing war in Gaza. About Syria, the Pentagon disclosed last month the U.S. has some 2,000 troops in Syria. That's almost double the number initially we were told of 900. Will you keep that troop capacity the same upon taking over?
Well, I won't tell you that because that's part of a military strategy. But I will say it was Turkey. Turkey's been after that country in different names and different forms and shapes for 2,000 years. Those people that went in are from Turkey. And President Erdogan is a friend of mine. He's a guy I like, respect. I think he respects me also. He's the one that didn't go after certain people after I requested that he not. You know who I'm talking about, the Kurds. I don't know how long that's going to, because they're natural enemies. They hate each other. But he didn't do that yet, and he didn't do it in the past also. He started, and I said, please don't do that, and he didn't do it. So, but if you look at what happened with Syria, Russia was weakened, Iran was weakened, and he's a very smart guy. And he sent his people in there through different forms and different names, and they went in and they took over, and that's the way it is.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Do you have concerns about HTS taking control of
By the way, I
Syria
have the envoy here. Is that in the back? It is. Standing with my son, Eric, is Steve Woodcoff, who's just got back from the Middle East, and he's done a fantastic job. He's a great deal maker. I said, what we need there is a deal maker, because nobody makes a deal. We have people that understand where the rivers are and where the meets and bounds are, but they can't talk. They can't make deals. Steve's done a great job. I just want to thank you, Steve. You've been working endlessly for months, and he's working specifically on the hostages, trying to get them back.
Well, that was my second question. Is Hamas
Steve, come up for a second. Maybe you might want to say a couple of words.
Sir,
I didn't
another hostage.
I didn't know Steve was going to be here, actually.
Neither did I.
He's done a fantastic job, and it's a dangerous job, too, and we appreciate it. He didn't know about this kind of danger and the other deal-making he does. Now he sees a lot of big danger. Come on up, Steve.
Mr. President, can I ask you a second part of that? Hamas
Yeah,
released
just one
another
second,
hostage
please.
video.
I'm going to give you a little report on the hostages, if I can. Steve? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wow. Well, I think we're making a lot of progress, and I don't want to say too much because I think they're doing a really good job back in Doha. I'm leaving tomorrow back to go to Doha, but I think that we've had some really great progress, and I'm really hopeful that by the inaugural, we'll have some good things to announce on behalf of the President. I actually believe that we're working in tandem in a really good way, but it's the President, his reputation, the things that he has said that are driving this negotiation, and so hopefully it'll all work out and we'll save some lives. I believe we've been on the verge of it. I don't want to discuss sort of what's delayed it. There's no point to be negative in any way. But I think it's the President, his stature, what he said he expects, the red lines he's put out there, that's driving this negotiation. I'm going back probably either this evening or tomorrow night.
Are you confident there'll be a deal before January 20th, or is that something that's likely to happen? If there's a deal even at all, and we've been hearing this now for the better part of...
I know. I would say...
They better be.
Right. I would say that the President is exasperated. I don't want to talk for him, but look, I don't know anyone who delegates better than President Trump. He gives us a lot of authority to speak on his behalf, and he exhorts us to speak emphatically. And emphatically means you better get it, you better do this, because the alternative...
Do you think they're waiting for President Trump to take office?
No, I think they heard him loud and clear. Better get done by the inaugural.
But when you say all hell will be
Before I
paid,
take
all hell must be paid if they don't release the
You know what that
hostages.
means, don't you?
Well,
Do I have to define it for you? Look, all
No, I know
hell
you're not
will
gonna
break out.
telegraph
If
what-
those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. But there was, and many people are killed. They're no longer hostages. I have people from Israel and others calling, begging me to get, we had also people there from the United States, just so you know. They're holding some so-called hostages from the U.S. But I've had mothers come to me and fathers crying, can I get the body of their son back? Can I get the body of their daughter back? That beautiful girl where they threw her in the car, pulled her by her ponytail and threw her in the car like she was a sack of potatoes. I said, what happened to her? Sir, she's dead. Like a 19, 20-year-old beautiful girl. And the way they treated her, and I just say it this very simply. Steve's got a job to do. He's a great guy, great negotiator, great person. They respect him over there already. It's what we needed over there. We have people that know everything about the Middle East, but they can't speak properly. They don't know. He's a great negotiator. That's what I needed. I could have sent that gentleman right over there, Hussein. He's a great negotiator. There are people, they're rare. Great negotiators are very rare, like a great surgeon. But we have the right person. But I tell this, I don't want to hurt the negotiation. If the deal isn't done before I take office, which is now going to be 2 weeks, all hell will break out in the Middle East. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You've done a great job.
Thank you.
Mr. President, more than 140 police officers were injured by rioters on January 6th. Will you pardon anyone who attacked a police officer?
Well, you know, the only one that was killed was a beautiful young lady named Ashley Babbitt. She was killed, and there was actually somebody else that was killed, also a MAGA person, but people don't give it 100% credibility. I'm going to find out about it, and we're going to find out. But Ashley Babbitt was killed. She was shot. She had never been shot. She was shot for no reason whatsoever. In fact, they say that she was trying to hold back the crowd, and the crowd was made up of a lot of different people, so we'll see. But I will tell you this, the person that was killed was Ashley Babbitt. The other thing is, when they talk, you know, there was never charges of insurrection or anything like that. But if there were, this would be the only insurrection in history where people went in as insurrectionists with not one gun, okay? And let me tell you, the people that you're talking about have a lot of guns in their home for hunting and for shooting and for entertainment, a lot of good reasons. But there wasn't one gun that they found. And why didn't they find the bomber, the pipe bomber? You know, they know who the pipe bomber is. The FBI knows who it is. The status of the FBI has gone down so far, and the status of the DOJ, or as I call it, the Department of Justice, it's the Department of Injustice, being laughed at all over the world. And hopefully with Pam Bondi and with Kash Patel and with other people that we're putting in, that will all come back. If you do a poll in the FBI, I guarantee you I'm at like 90% with the agents of the FBI, but they have hurt that incredible place. Law enforcement, I mean, you think of the FBI, they raided this house. By the way, they could have told me, could I see this? I would have given them, I actually told them, come in anytime you want. You can see anything. They raided the house, and the case was dismissed. And now I'm in litigation. I'm suing them for doing that. And I feel so badly doing it. I'm the President of the United States, and I'm suing the United States. But I'm suing them for other things, too. The FBI has gone so, its reputation has been so horribly hurt. Between Comey, who is the worst, and all of the others, what's happened to the FBI is, and we're going to make it great again. We're going to make the FBI great again. We're going to make the Department of Justice fair and strong, but fair again, because all they did was attack me because I'm their political opponent, and that includes with local judges like Marchand. You ought to find out. Ask them, why do I have a gag order where I'm not allowed to speak? Think of it. I'm the President of the United States, and I'm not allowed to speak. Why? Because if I did speak, people would understand the scam. It's a scam. And we have very dishonest judges, and New York judges are very bad. We had one that valued this house at $18 million because it was good for their case. He actually valued that chandelier is worth more than $18 million. He valued this house as $18 million. And we have another one who was so nasty, so horrible, such a brute, most vicious, vile person. These are New York judges. But we've won most of the cases, so we're very happy about that. Please.
Back on Greenland, your position is clear, but have you directed your staff to take specific actions to draw plans? And can you elaborate again? You didn't rule out military coercion.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
Have you asked your staff to draw plans for acquisition? I mean, are you actively
No, we're not at that stage, but we have people. I haven't even entered office yet.
Secondly, sir, Elon Musk has drawn some criticism and a lot of attention for some of his actions and provocative statements about foreign affairs, including in Europe. Your reaction to that, is that appropriate for...
You mean where he likes people that tended to be conservative? I don't know the people. I can say Elon's doing a good job, very smart guy. I don't know the people you're talking about. He was, I know he said some negative things about a couple of people that are running for office, but that's not so unusual. Yes, please.
I wanted to ask you about Ukraine and Putin. How soon do you anticipate going to meet with Putin to discuss the Ukraine situation?
Well, I can't tell you that, but I know that Putin would like to meet. I don't think it's appropriate that I meet until after the 20th, which I hate, because, you know, every day many, many young people are being killed, soldiers. You know, the land is very flat, and hundreds of thousands of soldiers many hundreds of thousands from each side are dead, and they're laying in fields all over the place. Nobody to even collect. There's landmines all over. It's a disaster. But it's very flat. It's great. It's farmland, and it's very, very flat. And the only thing that stops a bullet is the human body. And the human body is stopping a lot of bullets.
Within the
I hope
first
so.
3 to 6 months?
I hope to have 6 months. No, I hope long before 6 months. Look, Russia's losing a lot of young people, and so is Ukraine. And it should have never been started. That's a war that should have never happened. I guarantee you, if I were president, that war would have never happened.
Who would you like to nominate to replace Michael Barr as vice chair of the board?
I'll be announcing somebody.
Mr. President, if we were to work under the assumption that you're serious about making Canada 51st state of the United States, the leader of the Conservative Party in Canada said, under no circumstance will it ever be the 51st state.
Maybe he won't win, but maybe he will. I don't.
You had suggested.
Listen, I don't care what he says.
But Sir Lopez, you said you were considering military force to acquire Panama and Greenland. Are you also considering military force to annex and acquire Canada?
No, economic force, because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like. And it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. But here's the problem with Canada. So many friends up there. I love the Canadian people. They're great. But we're spending hundreds of billions a year to protect it. We're spending hundreds of billions a year to take care of Canada. We lose in trade deficits. We're losing massive. We don't need their cars. You know, they make 20% of our cars. We don't need that. I'd rather make them in Detroit. We don't need the cars. We don't need their lumber. We have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their lumber. We have to unrestrict them because stupid people put, restrictions on, but I can do that with an executive order. We don't need anything they have. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything. So why are we losing $200 billion a year and more to protect Canada? And I said that to, as I called him, Governor Trudeau. I said, listen, what would happen if we didn't subsidize you, if we didn't, because we give them a lot of money. We help them. As an example, we're buying icebreakers, and Canada wants to join us in the buying of icebreakers. I said, we don't really want to have a partner in the buying of icebreakers. We don't need a partner. But no right. Nope, no right. Here's what we have. We have a right not to help them with their financial difficulties because we owe $36 trillion too. We're going to start knocking it out pretty fast, but we're going to be able to do it because of energy and other things. But no right. No right. But why are we supporting a country, 200 billion plus a year. Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function if we didn't take their 20% of our car market. You know, they send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that. They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars, and we don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything. And we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question. But I can answer it. We're doing it because of habit. And we're doing it because we like our neighbors. And we've been good neighbors. But we can't do it forever. And it's a tremendous amount of money. And why should we have a $200 billion deficit and add on to that many, many other things that we give them in terms of subsidy? And I said, that's okay to have if you're a state. But if you're another country, we don't want to have it. We're not going to have it with European Union either. European Union, we have a trade deficit of $350 billion. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. And so we're not going to have it with them either. Brian, go ahead.
Yes. Happy New Year, by the way.
Thank you.
We have some breaking news. You may not be aware of this, but it looks like Canon has blocked the DOJ from releasing the Smiths report until further court proceedings. Get your thoughts on that.
Wow, that's a big story.
Yeah.
So, if I get it right, the fake witch hunt started by the DOJ, having to do with books and records, and Biden had many more, and he wasn't protected by the Presidential Records Act, I was. But all of that fake stuff that took the lives of people, I mean, literally destroyed people. People are destroyed because of what they did. Destroyed. But we got to be president. But Biden did it for 40 years. He did it when he was a senator. That was illegal. And they ruled it was illegal. How about that? They said, it's illegal, but he's unfit to stand trial. So he can stand and be president of the United States, but the prosecutor found that he's unfit for trial. I was going to use that as a major talking point, but I never got to use it because all of a sudden I had a new candidate who was also sort of unfit to stand trial, right? But so what you're saying is that the judge just blocked the so Cannon was thrown off the case. They dropped their appeal because he had no case. They dropped all of that, the lawsuits against us. They lost the lawsuit. So this is deranged Jack Smith. So he dropped the lawsuits. He was told to by the DOJ because they had no lawsuit. They lost in court in front of a very strong and a very brilliant judge. They lost in court, and that pertained to other cases in other courts. So he wanted to do a report just before I take office, probably. So he'll do like a 500-page report, and it'll be a fake report just like the investigation was a fake investigation. And I said, well, wait a minute. This guy was thrown off in disgrace. In disgrace. He's going back to The Hague or wherever they're going to send him. In disgrace. Because he failed so badly. Because it was a fake case against a political opponent. They thought they were going to use this to beat me. So what you're saying is, I'm just hearing that they're not allowed to issue the report. So if they're not allowed to issue the report, that's the way it should be. Because he was thrown off the case in disgrace. Why should he be allowed to write a fake report? It'll only be a fake report. That's great news. Yeah. Good.
And if I can just follow up real quickly, you want to comment, many Americans are angry that we're sending millions of dollars every month to the Taliban. Do you anticipate?
It's not even believable. Billions of dollars, not millions, billions. We pay billions of dollars to essentially the Taliban, Afghanistan. And that's given by Biden. That's the same man that took away $50 to $60 trillion worth of value from the United States. Think of it. Probably our most valuable asset. Took away our most valuable asset. This can't be allowed to happen. We are now a nation of common sense. When he does that, 625 million acres, this can't be allowed to happen. Thank you for the information.
Yes, sir.
Most other people probably knew about it, but they wouldn't have told me, right?
Mr. President, on the campaign trail, you vowed proud to bring down the prices at grocery stores very fast.
Yeah, we won't
but
do it
then you
fast.
recently told Time Magazine that bringing down prices would be very hard. So what can the American people expect when you get into office?
It's always
When
hard to
can they
bring
go
down
the
prices
grocery
when
bill
somebody
and
else has screwed something up like they did. But we'll bring them down. We'll get them down. Energy is going to bring down prices. We're going to have a lot of energy. And energy is what brought it up. Energy and their bad spending is what brought it up. And energy is going to bring it down. We're going to have prices down. I think you're going to see some pretty drastic price reductions. As an example, food, bacon, ham, apples, everything has gone through the roof. It's one of the reasons I won. So as you know, I said it, inflation was one of the reasons I won. But I think the biggest reason I won was the fact that they are allowing prisoners to come into our country. They released their prisoners, their murderers. Thousands of murderers are now walking around the streets of our cities and farmland all over. Murders, people that have killed. Many, 32% have killed more than one person. They released them from their jails, their prisons, and their mental institutions and insane asylums into our country. I believe that's the reason we got such a large vote. All right, maybe one or two more questions. Yeah, please, go ahead. Go ahead, you go.
Sir, can you, President Carter is laying in state today in Washington. You had some harsh words for him about the Panama Canal. Is there any disconnect there? Do you feel a little bit bad about doing that on this day?
No, I liked him as a man. I disagreed with his policy. So, hey, he thought giving away the Panama Canal was a good thing. I think it cost him the election. That and the hostages. I actually think that was a bigger factor because that's a deal that just should not have been made. But again, this was a question that was asked of me. I didn't bring it up. I didn't want to bring up the Panama Canal because of Jimmy Carter's death. But people don't bring it up. But, you know, you and other people have asked me about it. No, it's a deal that I was very strongly against. I was a young guy when this took place. But just why would we spend all of that money, lose 38,000 people to malaria, the mosquito? They were dying. It was horrible what was happening. They paid them 4 times more than they would make in the United States, but they knew they were going to go over there and die. And they died in the jungles of malaria. There was nothing we could do to stop it. 38,000. And then we gave it away for $1.
Without getting their agenda through Congress, you appeared to open the door in your radio interview yesterday for a 2-bill approach. Is it still your preference for one big, beautiful bill, as you have said?
Well, I like one big, beautiful bill, and I always have, I always will. But if 2 is more certain, it does go a little bit quicker because you can do the immigration stuff early. Now, you have to understand, for immigration and for the wall, we won the case on the wall. You know, they tried to sell the wall for 5 cents on the dollar, by the way. And we had, fortunately, a judge that stopped that. But they were already discarding the wall. And 5 cents on the dollar. And you know what they were doing? They were calling us up and saying, we'll sell it back to you at 200 cents. In other words, double what we paid for it. So they were going to buy it from this guy for 5 cents on the dollar. They were making deals. And fortunately, we had a very smart judge that stopped it cold. I think he called for an investigation, too, and he should. But think of it. They were selling the wall that was exactly the wall that the Border Patrol wanted. That was designed by them. Steel, concrete, rebar, exactly as they want. Very, very heavy steel, very powerful steel, hard to cut. Very, very heavy 7,000-pound concrete, which is a very strong concrete. Everything was top of the line. Very expensive. Would be double what we paid for it then, 6 years ago. But let me just tell you, they were selling it for 5 cents on the dollar to people, and those people were calling us, asking us to pay them 200 cents because it's a good deal because we can have it immediately. And you know what immediately is? Just leave it in place. No, the papers haven't written that, though. That deal is like all the other things that these people do. These people either hate our country or they're very stupid. And I don't believe they're stupid because nobody can cheat on elections like they cheat and be stupid. They either hate our country or they're stupid. So remember what I said because nobody wants to report it. They were selling the wall for 5 cents on the dollar and trying to resell it back to us for 200 cents or less, but for 200 cents on the dollar. That's a nice return.
They announced that it will stop putting fact checks on posts on its website. And Meta said today it would stop putting fact checks on its website and instead allow community.
Yeah, well, I watched their news conference, and I thought it was a very good news conference. I think they've come a long way. Meta, Facebook. I think they've come a long way. I watched it. The man was very impressive. I watched it. Actually, I watched it on Fox. I'm not allowed to say that. Say it?
Do you think he's directly responding to the threats that you have made to him in the past?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
The last time you were here, you were asked a question about the U.S. possibly launching a preemptive strike on Iran. You said you wouldn't answer that question.
On who?
Obviously, on Iran. The U.S. launching a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear facilities.
And I said, I don't talk about it. It's a military strategy.
But it is a legitimate question.
It's not really, because only a stupid person would answer it. Look, it's a military strategy, and I'm not answering your questions on military strategy. All right, one more. Brian, go ahead. Brian.
Could you give us a preview of what you might be talking to leaders of Congress who are expected to come here in the next couple of days? And you've got a very supportive Congress behind you.
Yeah, they're great. So we have a wonderful Republican Congress. We have a leader that I have a lot of confidence in. I think he's going to be, hopefully, a great leader, a great speaker. And we have a leader, by the way, in the Senate I think has been great. John Thune has been doing a fantastic job. But it goes through the House first. And the question is whether or not we do the two bills or one bill. And, look, I can live either way. I like the idea of the one big bill, but I can live either way. But they'll be coming down. The senators also will be coming down. And then ultimately we'll be meeting in the White House in a few weeks. But right now this is the winter season. They sort of call this the winter White House. It was built, I don't know if you know this, Marjorie Meriwether Post and E.F. Hutton built this. It was the greatest of all the estates in our country. And I saved it, and I got a lot of credit for saving it. Most of these big, great houses have been knocked down in Palm Beach, just about all of them, actually. And you'd build 10 mansions on one site, but we saved it. But this was built as the Southern White House, and she gave it to the government. And, by the way, Jimmy Carter gave it back. He said it's too expensive for the United States. So I didn't realize that.
Real quick, I was just told.
Actually, Jimmy Carter, Nixon was through Watergate. He came down. Nixon came here once. And he thought it was incredible, but he had a thing called Watergate, if anybody remembers that. And so he had other things on his mind, to put it mildly. And Jimmy Carter felt that it was too extravagant for the country. So fortunately for me, he gave it back to the foundation, and I bought it from the foundation.
President, on reconciliation, some Republicans saying in trade for a massive bill that you and they share the interest in, they want to see big spending cuts. Do you agree with that? And what
I'm okay with spending cuts. I like spending cuts. I'm on the record for spending cuts. And the debt ceiling was given to us. It shouldn't have been, but it was put in our lap. And what I want in terms of debt ceiling isn't the ceiling. I just don't want to see a default. That's all I want. I never talked about spending more money necessarily than all I want to see is no default, because nobody knows what would happen if there was a default. It could be 1929 and it could be nothing. But that was put into our lap, and it shouldn't have been, but it was, and so we'll handle it. But debt ceiling is not about raising a lot of money. It's really just about extending it. I just want to see an extension.
On immigration, how much can you do by executive order? Are you planning to do on executive order when it comes to immigration? And how much do you want Congress to tackle this issue? And also on day one,
well, I had the safest border in the history of our country by far. You remember the famous chart that I brought down. I love that chart very much for a lot of reasons. But I have the safest border by far in the history of our country. And when I took it over, it was a mess. Nothing like it is now. This is 10 times worse. I got elected because of the border the first time, and I think I got elected largely because of the border the third time. And the second time I did equally well. Well, not as well as the last time, but I did very well. And I will say, this was too big to rig. You know the expression? Too big to rig. They couldn't do it. They tried, but they couldn't do it. I didn't get very much from Congress at all. I just said that we're being invaded, and I took the money out of the military. Much of the wall, I built over 500 miles of wall. Much of that wall was built through money that I put into the military. We took it out because we couldn't get things from Congress in those days, and we took it out. And that wall was built largely with money coming from the military. So, very simple. I went to the military, I said, our country is being invaded by very similar, nothing like what's invading our country now. They weren't releasing prisons into our country, and they weren't releasing mental institutions in, but some bad dudes were coming in, right? And I said, our country is being invaded. And I took that money largely from the military. I was sued 9 times by the Democrats in Congress, and I won all those suits. And we ended up building 571 miles of wall. Once that wall was built, they start going around it. So we're going to add another 200. That would have been up in 3 weeks. And then we had a very unfortunate election result. And they said, we don't want to put it up. We'll sell it. And they started selling it for 5 cents on the dollar. What a second. So we'll do this again. I just want to thank everybody very much. I'm just telling you, this will be the golden age of America. This is the golden age of America. We're going to have a great country again. We're a country right now under siege. We have so many different problems, and nobody respects us overseas, but now they do. The Italian prime minister, as you know, came here the other night, just flew in and flew out. She wanted to see me. And great respect is being shown when I went to the cathedral in France. Great respect was shown by the prime minister, the president, by everybody. France was, and by the way, I have to say they did a great job in the cathedral. But great respect is being shown to our country again. And we have a great country, but we have to run it properly. It's going to be run properly. We want to get back those hostages for Israel and for us. You know, we do have people that are hostages being held. And I'll just say it again. If this deal's not done with the people representing our nation, by the time I get to office, all hell is going to break out. Thank you very much.
欢迎来到6度解析，新闻背后的多维思考，带你洞悉头条背后的世界。在今日华尔街频道的6度解析中，我们将深入探究时事热点，为你揭开新闻背后的真相。在这个信息泛滥、真相难觅的时代，6度解析应运而生。我运用海量数据、人工智能整合以及专家观点，层层剥析每个故事，通过实时背景数据挖掘，确保你获得全面的新闻资讯。然而，我们关注的不仅仅是数据，更重要的是将它们串联起来。我将分析多方视角，揭示隐藏的脉络，为你提供单一媒体常常忽略的背景信息。无论是政治、经济，还是全球事务，我都将为你带来最具洞察力的分析。试想一下，拥有洞悉全局的能力，做出明智的决策，参与有意义的讨论，这就是6度解析带给你的价值。它不仅仅是新闻分析，更是一种赋能的工具。加入今日华尔街的6度解析，共同探索头条背后的故事。你通往深度理解的旅程，从这里开始。不要只是阅读新闻，要解码新闻，理解新闻，活出新闻。这一切尽在6度解析。立即订阅，不错过任何真知灼见。因为了解真相